There's a lot of pressure today for you to follow the crowd. But Jesus warned about choosing what seems to be popular. Jesus said, choose the narrow way. Good morning and welcome to 755 Live. For about 5 minutes, you'll hear all about easy to remember soundbite versions of what Jesus said. And the point is to help you experience life to the fullest, the Jesus way. Today's Jesus Said comes from Matthew 7:13 through 14. We'll be reading from the New Living Translation. And you can find a different command of Jesus every weekday at our Bible plan at bible.today.church. So Matthew 7:13, you can enter God's kingdom only through the narrow gate. The highway to hell is broad, and its gate is wide for the many who choose that way. But the gateway to life is very narrow, and the road is difficult, and only a few ever find it. So Jesus said, choose the narrow way. Actually, I think what he's saying here is don't follow the crowd. The wide way is popular. It's easy. It is sometimes comfortable. The narrow way is where you deny yourself, where you die daily, where you take up your cross. And it seems that the longer you follow Jesus, that pathway, the narrow way, gets more and more narrow for you. Now, it's not about trying to force others through the narrow way. It's about us following Jesus, the way that he calls us to go. So which way are you choosing? The narrow Jesus way or the wide way of society's popular trends or even selfishness? In Proverbs, the writer says in Proverbs 4:26 and 27, mark out a straight path for your feet. Stay on the safe path. Don't get sidetracked. Keep your feet from following evil. Don't get sidetracked. And this reminds me, Jesus taught us to pray, to not lead us into temptation, so that we would keep our feet from following evil. Now, it's almost impossible in our culture with the constant information that we were designed to have to not get sidetracked. But the narrow way changes us. And here's an example of that change. Simon Peter, one of the first disciples that Jesus chose, he was a hothead. He was a rebel. He always wanted to fight back. In fact, Jesus even called him Satan at one point. But yet, following Jesus changed him. Let's read what he wrote later about responding to insults and suffering. And remember, this is the guy that cut off the ear of a servant the night before Jesus was crucified. 1 Peter 4, verse 14 through 19. If you are insulted because you bear the name of Christ, you will be blessed, for the glorious Spirit of God rests upon you. If you suffer, however, it must not be for murder, stealing, making trouble, or prying into other people's affairs, but it is no shame to suffer for being a Christian. Praise God for the privilege of being called by his name, for the time has come for judgment, and it must begin with God's household. And if judgment begins with us, what terrible fate awaits those who have never obeyed God's good news? And if also the righteous are barely saved, what will happen to godless sinners? So if you are suffering in a manner that pleases God, keep on doing what is right and trust your lives to the God who created you, for he will never fail you. So here's the guy who was such a rebel, such a hothead, giving us this incredible passage about just being patient and realizing that suffering is almost a badge of honor. It's totally different. Well, what changed him? Well, it was the narrow way. And what is that narrow way? Well, it looks and sounds like what Jesus said and did. You see, it's not real popular in our culture to love your enemies, to do good for them. It's not real popular to deny yourself or to give and keep on giving, to forgive and keep on forgiving. Where is that path? Well, Jesus gave us some road signs to look for along that path. He said, Matthew 25:42, I was hungry and you didn't feed me. I was thirsty and you didn't give me a drink. I was a stranger. You didn't invite me into your home. I was naked and you didn't give me clothing. I was sick and in prison and you didn't visit me. And then we're not going to read the rest of this, but it's on the screen. And then they said, well, Lord, when did we do this? And he said, well, when you didn't do this for the least of these, you didn't do it for me. You see, really living is living life eternal right now. And it's all or nothing. And it's about where your priorities are. Who do you care for? Who are you serving? And it is all or nothing. It is death or life. What is the narrow way? Jesus is the only way. It's not like we get to choose the parts that you want. You are either all in or all out. And there are only two choices, wide and narrow. What path are you on today? Jesus said, choose the narrow way. How can you put that into action today? Thank you so much for listening. If this is meaningful to you, it really does mean a lot when you like it, when you share it, when you comment. I really appreciate you. I hope that you have an amazing day. And I hope this time together has helped you live life to the fullest, the Jesus way. And remember, follow Jesus today. Love first.